So I've been seeing some of you guys in the comments saying that Lavine is for sure going to request a trade, and these comments were actually being made even before the most recent loss to the Blazers, but they were mainly, or I've been seeing them more frequently, after that game that the Bulls lost, where Lavine walked off the court and how, he doesn't have enough help to win and that he's wasting his prime and talent with the Bulls, which I disagree with these takes, but I'll get into that in a little bit. I even saw some of you saying he's going to request a trade this week after that brutal loss to the Blazers, which I disagree with, but let's say, for the purposes of this video, Lavine requests a trade, and he makes it known publicly, because it's different when a trade request is made but is kept under wraps within the organization, as it completely changes the team's leverage when trying to find a trade partner. And that's what we'll be exploring in today's video, some trade scenarios if Lavine does in fact become unhappy in Chicago and requests a trade. So what's going on, everyone? You're listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. Guys, before I get into today's video, I do have a big giveaway announcement, and it's for tonight's game, so make sure you pay attention if you want to be included. I will be giving away a $100 gift card to the NBAstore.com for someone who predicts the exact score of the game tonight. I actually did this for one of the Bulls games. It was the Bulls against the Celtics, but I didn't announce it in a video and just did it through a community post, so not that many people included their predictions. And because of that, the Bulls also got kind of blown out in that game. No one ended up actually winning. So guys, if you want a chance to win $100, leave your score predictions for tonight's game in the comments in the following format that you see here. That way it's clear and not left up for interpretation. The total points for the Bulls and the total points for the Knicks. You don't even need to add who you think is going to win, since it will be obvious based on your score predictions. You don't have to predict the Bulls. I know it's a Bulls channel. If you think the Knicks are going to win tonight, then predict that. You must have your score prediction in before the tip-off of the game, and your comment cannot be edited. And yes, I will be checking the timestamps of the edits if you do indeed win. And guys, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I don't do the whole Patreon thing or membership thing to get money or to get you guys to send me money. I would feel just really weird taking money from you guys just to hear me talk about Bulls basketball. I'm not doing anything special. It's just a hobby of mine to talk about basketball. So please, please do not send me any money. Use that money for something good, whether it be on yourself, your family, or donating to a good cause. Don't send me money. But all of that aside, let's talk about today's topic and what would happen if Lavine requested a trade. So before I get into the trade scenarios on what could potentially work for the Bulls that would be realistic if a trade request was publicly known, I just want to be very clear that I do not agree Lavine is going to request a trade, at least not based on where the team stands right now. If the Bulls continue to lose, or animosity grows between Lavine and some players or the coaching staff, sure, that would change my view on this. But based on what we know now and how the team is performing, I don't believe Lavine is going to request a trade. And it's for a few reasons. First of all, the Bulls are a young team that is still developing and have actually shown great improvement from last year and even from the start of this season. And I know that last loss against the Blazers, was a crushing blow, but they actually showed they are capable of coming back from a big deficit, fighting through adversity, continuing to compete, and against a good team. I know there are a lot of Bulls haters out there, and some of them even Bulls fans, but this team has talent. They do, and they have a lot of potential. It's all about whether that talent can be harnessed and utilized to its fullest. Second, the Bulls are finally showing a sense of direction for the franchise, a new front office, a new coaching staff who, at least for now, appear to be competent in making the right decisions for the future, not something that we're used to seeing from the Bulls. This isn't like a Bradley Beal who, first of all, his team is worse than the Bulls. And second, the franchise, the Wizards, they kind of lack a sense of direction as a whole. So if I'm Lavine, I understand his frustration, but those are the growing pains playing with a young team, a developing team who just isn't ready to be that contending roster just yet. But you now have the opportunity to be part of a rebuild or a franchise restart, if you will, with you being the focal point or face of the franchise. I know I've talked about Lavine maybe not being the #1 option on a title contending team, but the fact of the matter is right now, he is the best player on our team. and it's his for the taking if he wants to be a franchise player under this new front office. And finally, he's in one of the biggest sports markets in the nation. I could see if this was a Kemba Walker type situation where you feel like you're a star player and the quality of talent around you isn't up to par, and you're in a market like Charlotte, sure, but you're in Chicago, the house Michael Jordan built. So all of that being said, let's say Lavine does in fact request a trade, as some of you have been saying recently. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we're saying that if he were to request a trade, he would make it publicly known. In other words, the entire league knows about it, kind of like what James Harden did. Well, let's not say what James Harden did, because I don't think Lavine would do it in that fashion. I feel like he would have a little more class than what Harden did, maybe more like an Anthony Davis type situation. Now, by Lavine making it publicly known, this lowers the Bulls' leverage when it comes to trading him, because teams now know the Bulls have little power in the situation to get the most value that they feel they can get for him. Again, because they know that they have to trade Lavine, meaning they know the Bulls have to trade Lavine, and they could just say, hey, fine, hold on to him and see how that works for you. Now, Lavine isn't like James Harden or Anthony Davis, who would command this kind of assets in return and also that much power in a trade. But he's still a high-level player that is only 25 and still has the potential to get even better. So if you're the Bulls, despite the limited leverage you might have, you should still be able to get a decent return for him. Now, some people have been saying the Bulls need to trade for Bradley Beal straight up. And as much as I would love for that trade, if it was a straight swap, the Wizards aren't going to do that because Beal is more valuable than Lavine, or at least I'm sure the Wizards view it that way. And Lavine and Beal are kind of similar players, and if the Wizards are looking to trade Beal, they're likely going to want to move or make a move that puts them in rebuild mode, since what they have right now isn't working for them, and trading for Lavine doesn't really change the current situation that they find themselves in. Now, where the Bulls should be looking if Lavine requests a trade is a team that is in win-now mode and has young assets or picks that they can exchange that they'll likely not be as concerned about holding on to because, again, they're looking to win now. So the first scenario is a trade with the Lakers. And the reason for this is because despite the fact that the Lakers are one of the best teams in the league and they're poised to repeat as champions, so you might be asking, well, why would they even need to add Lavine to this roster? Well, James Harden getting traded to the Nets does put a little bit of a wrinkle into their plans. Now, if you ask me, I personally don't see this Nets team succeeding and winning a title. I actually think that big three of egos and drama queens at some point will implode, and I don't even see them making it out of the East. But that being said, the Lakers could see the Nets as a real threat to their title hopes and may look to add another big scoring threat to that team, and Zach Lavine could be that guy. The problem is the Lakers don't really have much that I personally would want anyway, or that I think would intrigue our tourists over these other options that I will be presenting. But for this trade scenario, I think Kyle Kuzma, Alex Caruso, and Giannis's brother Kostas to go along with their 2021 first-round pick, which will likely be a later first-round pick based on how the Lakers are trending and where they're finishing the regular season. That one could make the most sense. Now, Lakers fans are probably going to say that's way too much for Zach Lavine, but Zach Lavine is a quality player, and so I think that that's actually a fair trade. Again, not really the best trade for the Bulls, but remember, they don't have a lot of leverage in this trade scenario and will likely have to take lesser value than they otherwise would be able to get for Lavine. Another team that is in win-now mode and could use another scorer, a third option to go with Jokic and Jamal Murray. Yes, the Denver Nuggets. Now, in this scenario, they would trade Lavine for Gary Harris. That makes the money work for this trade, but the Bulls aren't going to just be satisfied with Gary Harris for Lavine. And as much as I would love for Michael Porter Jr. to be thrown into that to sweeten the deal, it's not going to happen given the potential he's showing when healthy, given his age and how young he is too. But what could make it work for the Bulls is adding Bol, a big man the Bulls could use coming off the bench, and a pick as well. Another trade rumor that keeps getting thrown around for Zach Lavine is with the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavs have been struggling to start off the season, and they could absolutely use another scorer to go alongside Luka and Porzingis. Most of the trade rumors I've heard are for Tim Hardaway Jr., Jalen Brunson, and a future first-round pick. Hardaway Jr., I mean, a good scorer, but he's on an expiring deal. Brunson is nice, and he gives the Bulls some depth off the bench at guard position, but I'm not a huge fan of this trade. The pick is nice as well, but just feels like the Bulls should be able to get more for a guy like Lavine. And finally, the other trade scenario, and I've talked about this one before, but it didn't involve Lavine, and it was for a trade in the offseason rather than this season, and that's with the Sixers. And guys, I'm talking about Ben Simmons. I know the guy can't shoot, and that's why it makes it even more challenging when you trade him for one of your best shooters and scorers in Zach Lavine. But I think if you can keep Lauri Markkanen and Coby White, and you add Patrick Williams to that as well, Ben Simmons is that playmaker the Bulls are looking for, that elite defender they need, and a slasher to the hoop on offense. He can't shoot, we all know this, but there are a lot of other areas of his game where he excels at. And the Sixers are likely going to want a little more than just Lavine for Simmons. Not only that, but the money doesn't work because Ben Simmons is on a max contract. So a straight up trade is not an option in this scenario. I would imagine the Bulls are likely going to have to throw in Thaddeus Young or Otto Porter to make the actual money work, but also to make it a little more intriguing for the Sixers. And again, because the Sixers are looking to win now and may not be as focused on building for the future, so those older assets, even though they're on expiring deals, they might see as valuable for this season. Or the Bulls, would probably have to throw in a first-round pick, which I hope the Bulls wouldn't do, because in all of these scenarios, the Bulls are trading away their best player. In a way, it's almost another rebuild or retool, and they have to ensure that whatever they're getting in return sets them up for the future. So including any young players or picks as a part of the package with Lavine would not make sense, and would actually set them back if you're trading your best player along with younger assets. And not only that, but also the Bulls need to be ensuring that whatever they're getting in return are going to be young assets that they can build for the future. Anyway, this has been a really long video. As I said, I don't think Lavine is going to request a trade, at least not for this season. It could change in the offseason if the Bulls really do underperform, but here are some of the trade scenarios that I could see potentially working. I'm not a fan of all of these for the Bulls. I would say the best one of these trades is for Ben Simmons, just because Simmons gives you critical things the Bulls need right now in defense, particularly perimeter defense and playmaking, and he's also already an established star in this league. Obviously, you're sacrificing shooting when bringing in Simmons, but the guy can still score, and he can score well. He's averaging 16 points per game over the course of his career, and it's not like the Bulls wouldn't still have shooting with Markkanen and Coby White. Now, I know these trade scenarios aren't perfect. I'm sure there is a lot I'm missing or I didn't fully consider, so I would love to hear what you guys think. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments, and of course, don't forget to leave your predictions for the score tonight against the Knicks if you want a chance at winning $100 to the NBAstore.com. Just have your scores submitted by the tip-off. Thanks again for tuning in, guys. Have fun watching the game tonight. I'll have a live chat for the game if you're interested in attending that. I'll have it both on YouTube and on the Discord page, which a link for that is in the description. Thanks again, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.